Hello everyone, it's a beautiful Friday afternoon here in Los Angeles. It's got a nice cool breeze coming in and nice sunny and these nice high clouds. And I'm just enjoying the weather for a little bit, sitting outside with my dog. Wanna say hi? Yeah, pretty girl. Anyway, yeah, a few things have changed since I did my 1 week review of the XH2s, which you can watch right here. And I just wanted to give a quick checkup or check-in, if you will, because this really isn't a review. It's just that some things have changed a little bit and part of my opinion has changed a little bit. So today I'm gonna talk about that.
I've been on a vibe kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rack.
All right, so I'm back inside because there's a lot of mosquitoes outside and I was getting bit around my ankles and I'm out of bug spray, so I'm back inside for the time being. And how's this look? I switched my desk setup a little bit so it might look a little different than before, maybe not. But the idea was I didn't want it to, but it does slightly change my framing some, but I think it looks all right. Anyway, like I said before, a few things have changed since I did my 1 week review, but not much. These are just more like of a personal sort of thing. And first and foremost, I love the camera. I love it. It's like everything I ever wanted out of my R6 and my X-T4 mashed together and then some. And I encourage you to look through some of my videos on my channel that I've made over the last couple of weeks and just take a look, let me know what you think. And the reason is because this camera makes me want to do stuff like that. It's hard for me to put the camera down, and I'm constantly thinking of different places in LA that I can kind of showcase in sort of a cinematic B-roll way, and maybe some that I can do like mini documentaries on, and maybe some that I can just put like text facts or do a voiceover facts, or even just like a vlog in general on the area instead of doing a photo vlog. So yeah, the camera's great. I love it. And very few things have changed, but I thought that this might be helpful for some people because not a lot of information on the camera out there still. Yeah, there's not a lot of reviews, there's not a lot of long-term stuff, obviously because the camera's only been out for a month, which I will be doing probably longer-term reviews in the future, but let's just talk about some of the workarounds and some of my opinions of the camera after the first month. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to thank a YouTube member that commented in my last video. His name was Darian Colbert. I'll put his @ right here. And he told me a very, very helpful piece of information. So I used to shoot on the X-T4, and I don't know if you'll be able to see here because my eyes are in the way, but there's a stills movie switch right here that allowed me to switch between stills and movies really quick. And the movie would retain the settings that I had previously used, so whatever I was shooting in, I could just flick it. So if I'm doing photographs, I want to take a video real quick or vice versa, I can just quickly switch and there we go. I'm ready to go. And I couldn't find a good way to do that on the XH2s. Yes, there is a record button, and yes, it does work in photo mode. However, it has its own set of sort of like hard parameters that it can use while in photo mode. And it excludes some of the stuff that I do in my regular video settings. So for instance, if I hit the record button, I cannot tell it to record an F-log while still in photo mode. So if I'm shooting in manual and all of a sudden I see something I want to video and I hit the button and start following it or whatever, it will not record an F-log because that is not a part of the settings in the photo menu. I thought that was going to be kind of a big deal because then I would actually have to turn the dial and make sure that all of my custom settings were set appropriately. And what if I get confused and I choose the wrong custom dial and I shoot in the wrong settings or what? But Darian told me in the comments that actually, and I never looked at this in the X-T4 because of the hard switch that was on the top of the camera, you can actually map the custom button, the function button. I'll show you on the X-T4. So the X-T4 has one right here. On the XH2s, it's kind of back here a little bit further, but there's also one here, and that's on the XH2s as well. And what I did is you can actually map that to jump to custom 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and you can actually map the record button to do custom 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So if you have two preferred video settings, let's say F-log is your normal and you just hit the function button in the back and then hit the shutter button, now you're recording an F-log. Or if you want to map the record button to do your F-log 2, you can hit the record button and then hit the shutter button to start recording. At this time, it doesn't look like you can hit the record button and it will switch to C1 or C2 and start recording at the same time. And that's probably a good thing, but it kind of would be nice if, you know, in the sort of spirit of time to be able to do that. But I understand why they don't. Now, this is fantastic for me because that was what I was looking for and it made life a lot easier. So thank you to Darian. That was the first thing I want to address because I said that in my previous video and I didn't know if there was a way to fix it or if there would be a firmware release. For my workaround at the time was just to turn the dial, but again, like I said, what if I go to the wrong one? Anyway, it's been fixed now. Well, not really fixed, but it's a good workaround and it works for me, and I'll probably be able to do that for the life of the camera without complaining. All right, so the second thing I want to address is the IBIS. I had a lot of comments saying the IBIS is not that good. I'm sorry, it's not really the IBIS, it's me. I can personally say that using this camera with the IBIS turned on and most of the time on non-stabilized lenses, the lenses I use the most, well so far the one I use the most is 16mm 1.4. I use it all the time, it's my most used lens, and I just picked up this 16 to 55 f2.8 and I will probably use it quite a bit as well, especially for vlogging because I can vlog wide and then I can turn around and do some shooting and talk about my settings and things like that. But I don't use stabilized lenses which give you an additional stop, and I'm not very graceful, okay? I've not been a videographer for a long time. I haven't mastered the ninja walk. I haven't mastered, you know, holding the camera just right and being very fluid with my movement. I haven't done any of that, and I don't even think about it when I'm shooting video handheld. I really don't. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't mind some of the shakes, but other people do. And just know that if you are good at movements and you know how to ninja walk and things like that to stabilize your video, it's pretty darn good. It works really well, and for what I do, the biggest thing for me was the additional stop of stabilization coupled with the stack sensor, so that when I'm walking, you don't see the edges warping a lot, which you did with the X-T4, sorry. And I do usually use the 18 to 55 with it, and it is stabilized, and it made the warpy IBIS wobbles a lot worse. I don't have that problem with this camera at all. Mostly that's the stack sensor, but still, I believe that the IBIS works just fine because there are a lot of times where I'm doing video where I'm just holding my hands like this, okay? And if you can see him, you can see him. Okay, so this is just me holding him like this. And while I'm breathing, you can see them moving. So they're not super stable. But if I was recording video while doing this exact thing, you wouldn't notice any movement. And that's mostly what the IBIS is for. You have to remember that there's a limited amount of movement for the sensor in there. And without making the camera a lot bigger to accommodate for more movement like a gimbal, it's not really going to get too much better. But it really does work, and it works well for stills. I can get almost up to 5 seconds, give or take. I'm not the best at it again, but I try to hold as still as possible, and I can get 4, maybe 5 seconds if I'm lucky. Long exposure stills with this without an issue. The X-T4 I can get maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 if I had a stabilized lens, which is, again, like I said, kind of rare for me on the Fuji system to have a stabilized lens. But just to address a couple of the comments, it is great, it does work very well, and a lot of the jitter and jerkiness that you see, again, I encourage you to look through my past videos where I'm actually doing sort of POV style videos and stuff like that while walking. A lot of the jerk is coming from me because I'm just walking normally. I'm not trying to stabilize it in any other way other than the IBIS itself. So my opinion of the IBIS is great. I only have one issue with it, and that was there is a sensor in this camera that is supposed to detect when it's on a tripod. And when it's on a tripod, it's supposed to turn the image stabilization off. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to shoot on a tripod with a stabilized lens and have the stabilizer on, but you'll notice that sometimes your photos are very blurry or not as sharp. And there's varying different reasons for that. But you want to have it off when you're on a tripod. And I noticed that one time, I haven't been able to replicate it since, but one time the camera seemed to be very confused as to whether it was on a tripod or not. Now it wasn't, I had it setting on something like a desk, but it was actually a bridge that had a nice concrete sort of pillar that was flat on top, and I was shooting some trains coming below it, and I messed up several times. I had to wait 15 minutes for the next train to come, and I was holding it like this with my hand sort of wedged on the concrete between the camera, and it seemed like maybe it just acted like I left the IS on while it was on a tripod. So I don't know if it knew what was what, and I tried different settings, and I eventually got it to do fine if I just turned it off completely. So I don't know. I haven't been able to replicate it. That was kind of a very specific scenario, but that was my only gripe, and I don't know if anyone else has been able to do that or replicate any behavior like what I just described, but it's not that big of a deal. I haven't been able to, like I said, replicate it. It hasn't happened again, so I'm gonna let it slide for now, but that is my only thought on the IBIS since the last video. All right, so next up, the only thing I really want to talk about is the quality of the image that come out of this are fantastic, and because of that we need more storage space, and the CFExpress Type B cards are expensive, and luckily, I'll put the link in the description here, Fuji realizes that, and they want us to create as much as possible with these cameras. So anyone who's bought the camera between, I think, May 31st and September 4th, you can actually send in your serial number, a picture, your receipt, and all that, and they will send you a free Delkin Black 325 gigabyte CFExpress Type B card. No questions asked. So that's great, but I still, you know, maybe if we can all collectively as a community band together and ask Fuji, I really think that they should take a page out of Blackmagic's notebook and allow us to record to inexpensive Samsung SSDs. Like this one is a 1 terabyte. It costs around $100. You can get them varying prices on Amazon various times of the year, and as you can see, they're not very big. I mean, this is the X-T4. It's like not even as big as the rear screen. So they make hot shoe brackets that hold these like this, right? So, I mean, that would be, to me, an ultimate alternative to the CFExpress Type Bs. Now, also, the T5s are SATA 3. They're about 535 megabytes per second speed, and they do make a T7, which will also fit in a lot of the brackets for the hot shoe, that is capable of going around a gigabyte per second, sorry. And that would be great. I know that Blackmagic can record B-RAW in 12-bit to the Samsung T5s. I also know that the T5 is based on SATA 3 technology, just with a USB-C connector. And the Atomos Ninja, the Ninja 5, that a lot of people suggest pairing with the XH2s, also writes to SATA 3 SSDs. So with that being said, we should technically be able to write 12-bit RAW and Apple ProRes HQ directly out of the USB port into one of the drives, should they allow us to do that. Now, even if it came with like the caveat of having to have the XH2s cooling fan in the back, that's still a cheaper alternative than buying a Ninja or a very expensive, like, the 1 terabyte cards for these are like around $700, very expensive. And a lot of us, we just want to record better video, and we don't really need an external monitor. So it would be nice to have some method of alternative recording. I know that we can do 6.2K all the way up to, I think, 720 megabits per second on a V90 card, and only 320 megabits per second on the V60 cards in the SD slot, but you cannot do any of the Apple ProRes, nor can you do any RAW. But I would really like to see the ability to make RAW a little bit more accessible and a little bit cheaper for people. So, you know, I don't know. A lot of the V60 cards are capable of going fast enough to record ProRes, but I think that it's more of a heat issue, and the cards are small and they get a little bit hotter. Not really too sure on that, but it would be nice to be able to use some of the higher quality stuff on a more inexpensive way of recording it. Okay, and last, the one and only thing that I can say this a change of opinion is that earlier in my review, I said that I would like them to include waveforms and things like that, which would be nice, and I think a lot of us would like to have it, but now I want to change that to no. And the reason is because they are really marketing and trying hard to market this camera as a true hybrid camera. And when you include stuff like waveforms, RGB parades, false color, things like that, it really kind of tips the scale more towards video. And I believe that a lot of photo people would really sort of disregard the camera, and I don't think that they should, because I was very impressed with the X-T4 as a photo camera, and that's part of the reason why I bought this camera in the first place. And being able to have the stack sensor, high-speed burst rate shooting, but still have all of the classic looks and all of the details, and the 26 megapixel tried and true sensor, or tried and true resolution of previous cameras to deliver really good photo results. I don't think that this should be discounted by any means as a photo first camera if you're a photo first person, because it can go either way, and that's part of the beauty of the camera. Now, leaning on it to do histograms and things like that, well, histograms are available, they always have been available, but leaning on it to do waveforms, RGB parades, things like that, I think is asking it to be more of a video camera. And I don't think that that would be necessarily appropriate, because then a lot of photo shooters would kind of brush it off like photo people typically do to, like, say, Lumix, Panasonic Lumix cameras like the S5, the GH5, GH6, etc. They're like, it's a video camera, I'm not, you know. So this is truly meant to be both, and it truly works well as both. So I changed my opinion there, because if I was ever to do serious video like that, I would probably use an external monitor anyway. And I do have one that's about the size of my phone. It's a Portkeys PT5 video monitor, and it uses HDMI, and it has all the things. It has the waveforms, it has the false color, it has all those things. So if that's something that you need as a video person, you probably have those available to you. And if you don't, the Portkeys PT5 I think is like around $125 or so. It's not very expensive, and it uses two different kinds of batteries. You can put Canon LPE6N batteries in there, or you can use the Sony FP style batteries of any size. So, you know, those things are available, and I would say that for anyone who's using this for a powerful production where they need something like that, should probably just use an external monitor, or maybe even if you're wanting to do RAW, maybe even like an Atomos Ninja or something like that. So that's just the only thing that I've really changed my opinion of. Other than the function button thing, it's not really an opinion change, it was more of a convenience for me. But other than that, I love this camera. So far, so good. I can't wait to go out with it like every day. I'm going to be going to some places tonight to do some video and some vlogging and things like that. So, and I'm excited to do so. But I'll end with this. Battery life. The battery life isn't so great. With the X-T4, let's see, do I have a battery? No, I don't have a battery here. With the X-T4, I used to be able to go all night with just one battery. Sometimes I would drain one and put a fresh one in there, but the fresh one may only get used about 10% before I made it home. This one, I am absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, without question, going to drain one battery, and probably at least a minimum of half of a second battery. So if you have this camera, please consider getting more than one battery. You will thank yourself. Also, I believe September 15th is when they're going to start delivering the battery grips for the camera. They have the one that has all the kinds of connectivity and the Ethernet port and all that, and then the one that's just the solid battery grip. They're not the same as like the Canon was, I'll say that. This one you actually put a couple of batteries in the bottom, and it still holds the battery inside of the camera battery itself. So effectively it's using 3 batteries in sort of serial to give you 3 times the battery life. Whereas some of the Canons, you know, they have this long arm that goes up inside of the camera body, and then the 2 batteries are in the bottom, just 2. So a lot of the battery grips only double your battery life. This one should triple it. That will become available on September 15th, I think. So if you go through batteries a lot, that might be an option for you. I personally would prefer to just have multiple single batteries because size and weight and holding it out doing vlogs and things like that, I would rather have the smaller profile than the larger profile with extra batteries in it already, especially since I use like Peak Design, like a capture clip on my backpack strap so I can hang the camera off of it. It would be really difficult with a battery grip if I were to do that. So that's it, that's my final thought. And my battery is right now is fine, but I've been recording for about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so for this video. And it's only used 1 bar, so I'm around 80% right now, 75, 80%, maybe higher, 85%. I don't know. I don't really know what the marks where they are at, but I've got plenty of battery still, but I probably will recharge it before I leave tonight. And that leads me to one final thing. Like I just said, I've been recording for about 20 minutes. Heat has not been an issue for me. Now, I don't have a lot of record time because I only have a 128 gig CFExpress card, so I don't have a lot of record times for higher quality codecs like Apple ProRes HQ. I think I can record about 6 minutes and 30 seconds to this card before it fills up. So I haven't done like a 40-minute recording in the higher ones. I have done 40 minutes solid straight through with Apple ProRes Lite and 6.2K all-eye at 720 megabits. I've done both, and the camera, well, I can feel it right now. Physically, it's warm-ish. It's not hot, and it's definitely not room temperature though. But I haven't had any problems with it overheating. And for everything that I've done so far, it would fill up the card before it overheated. Even in ProRes Lite, I think that if I had a larger card, I could probably go well into an hour before it got hot enough. And because I don't typically go longer than 40 minutes, sometimes I don't even go that long without hitting stop and then recording the next cut, I don't think that I would ever personally face any heat issues. So if you are somebody that does a lot of studio work, a lot of talking heads, maybe podcasts, then the fan is available right now. You should probably consider buying that, and it will go for quite a while, and a dummy battery as well, so you have more of a hollow battery section with a dummy battery in it, and then you can record for a long time. So with that being said, I'm gonna get this video out right now. I'm gonna get it off the card and start editing it and charge the battery so that I can go out and do some more photos and videos tonight. So I will see you guys in the next one.